I never thought in my YouTube career that I would have to talk about the exchange rates and how they are affecting stocks' bottom lines, particularly with Microsoft. Yet here we are. I'm going to do my best in explaining to you guys what the exchange rate is and how it's impacting Microsoft, among other stocks, and how this might actually impact the economy overall, not just here in the US, but also abroad and globally. This is starting to become a bigger problem because the dollar is getting so strong. And one might think, well, if the dollar is strengthening, isn't that better for us? And in some ways, yes, and in other ways, no. Case in point with what Microsoft had to say as of this recording. They talked and reiterated that they're going to be lowering their guidance about 3 cents per share on their bottom line and profitability because of how the exchange rate is impacting sales. And this is going to be probably an ongoing issue. We just heard from Salesforce as well. They reported on Tuesday of this past week and talked about how the dollar and the exchange rate is also impacting their bottom line. So what exactly is happening here? Let's talk about real quick what the exchange rate is and how this is impacting companies like this and how this would impact us and those who are abroad. Let's just say last year I could buy a soda in Great Britain for 75 cents. Now that's going to probably cost me around 60 cents or maybe even lower than that because the dollar is able to be stretched further. I can buy more stuff with my dollar elsewhere outside of the United States. Same thing with Canada and Mexico. For what maybe a cerveza down in Mexico might have cost me 75 cents, it's now probably costing me 50 cents because the dollar is just getting that strong. The flip side of this is if a Mexican wants to come to the US and buy that same cerveza, it's going to cost them much more now than it did last year. So that does a couple of things. It decreases demand. It limits your ability to buy as much as you used to. And so that's what's impacting something like Microsoft, Salesforce, and beyond. And the beyond is also what I want to talk about here and why there could be cause for concern in the global economy. So we're used to people, foreigners, people from other countries coming in and spending money here on our stuff, right? There's a lot of tourism here in the U.S. Alaska is crazy. Alaska, their population's 400,000 thereabouts, and it grows to millions over the summertime because of the tourism. It's not just U.S. tourism either. They get tourism from all over the globe. So you can imagine how that might impact the economy if we're losing that demand from outsiders coming in to enjoy everything that there is to offer from the US. Having said that, though, we're looking at Microsoft and Salesforce and some of the other ones that might be talking about how this is impacting their bottom line. And are we worried about how this is going to impact our investments? Let's take a look at the chart real quick on Salesforce and see if that actually matters. So here's Salesforce right now. This is your daily chart. You can see that the earnings were back on Tuesday, and this thing has done nothing but go up ever since. You can see that this is as you're watching this is yesterday's 5-minute chart. So you can see how much this has gone up, and we can scroll out here and see that there really hasn't been that much of an impact, despite the fact that Salesforce has talked about this issue regarding the exchange rate and how this is impacting their bottom line. One of the big reasons for this is growth. Let's take a look at Microsoft. Microsoft, as I'm talking here and as I'm recording this, was down 3% to open up the day, and now it is back to green. Why is this happening? Well, as I had mentioned before, Microsoft talked about how this is going to impact their bottom line by 3 cents per share for the coming year, and that amounts to around 1% of their bottom line. Now, the growth here for Microsoft is still extraordinary. The cloud-based side of their business is ridiculous in growth. They're growing at 40 to 50% per quarter, and that to me is just absolutely insane. So the growth here is going to offset more than likely the issues that they're having with the exchange rates. And this is going to be just fine for a lot of growth companies. But what it might not be fine for are companies that rely on commodities or rely on raw materials to build their products, and especially companies that rely a lot in those areas on foreign countries for their business. That's going to be the big problem, especially if this continues to persist or the dollar gets stronger. So what do you do in situations like this? In my opinion, I think that looking at something like a Microsoft or Salesforce, for example, these companies are just going to continue to grow and they're going to be just fine. Yes, it's worth noting that this is going to impact their bottom line, but overall, in the long run, this isn't going to matter a whole lot. So I think that if you're looking at companies like this, the exchange rate doesn't necessarily matter a whole lot, in my opinion, and you're not going to have to worry too much. When it comes to companies like Caterpillar, for example, or the Deere company, manufacturing in that area might impact the bottom line there because of how much they do in overseas as far as sales are concerned. Caterpillar has a strong relationship with China. China is a huge importer of Caterpillar products and machinery, and I think that could impact something like Caterpillar. We're just going to have to wait and see if that actually matters to them. So let me know what you guys think about this. Is this going to be a huge problem moving forward on this issue with the strengthening dollar? In most cases, you would think that this is good for the U.S., but it's actually maybe coming to be a bad thing for the global economy as a whole. Let me know what you guys' thoughts on this. Is this a big deal that we should be worrying about or not? And guys, as always, make sure you're hitting that like and subscribe button. I certainly would appreciate it. And I'll see you Sunday for Sunday's video that'll be coming out for the top 5 stocks to watch for the week. Make sure that you're tuned in for that, and I'll see you guys next week.